Okay, well, here we go. Oh boy, ring, 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 ring. Ring, 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 ring.
Hey, Vic.
Hey, oh, it's the George, man, with the fancy hair. How you doing? And, look, I gotta tell you, it's been a long time, and I know.
Vic, you called me yesterday 17 times.
So, yeah, I know, and the fact that it wasn't 22 is kind of amazing. So, look, here's the deal.
What is it, Vic?
We're coming back. Okay, so pack your bags and come on back.
Oh, God.
Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi.
I think it's been a bit.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. There we go. I think definitely now.
Now, 3, 2, 1. And so when one gets there, that's when we start recording, right?
We didn't really talk about whether we were doing it on or after, though.
Well,
I guess we're just going to find out.
Someone will edit that out.
This is flying
So
into
now
the ether.
Has the podcast started?
It's
George.
I mean, you know what's amazing is that nobody is listening and it's still somehow boring.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Well, some of the mail, I mean, someone's interested.
I have a Ford Fiesta filled with mail. It's been rolling up. They're not that big, so it takes about 4 or 5 letters to fill it up.
You're not just talking about that homeless guy's car that's got that dashboard filled with Browning letters and maps, and
Well, you know what's amazing is
or the other Ford Fiesta.
Well, that's his name. His name is actually Ford Fiesta.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
He's a good guy. He's right there at the 170, 134 off ramp.
With the other unemployed Disney people.
With all the unemployed Disney people, all the really sad animators now. That hey, you'd think that's the one thing that'd be going, but nope.
No.
Get on the bread line there. Get on the bread line, Artie. Man, feels like Christmas break has been longer than usual.
It was. But I am rested. I'm rested.
I am as well. I'm a little groggy. I mean, thankfully, we got some flavored seltzer, so we must be doing something right.
Yep.
Here. Are you liming it up?
I'm liming it up.
I'm liming it up as well. My gosh. Oh. We got a call out of the blue last week. It was the first time that my phone has rang in about 18 months at all. I don't talk to anybody. And you know who that was because the very next call was to you, and we got on the 3-way call. Our producer, Vic.
On a side note, I was pretty amazed that Vic actually knew how to merge a call. Most people over 60 don't know how to do that.
Well, I mean, he had his son with him, so he calls him his son, but I don't know.
Who's like 51?
He's like 51 years old, and Vic, I think, is only 54. So
yeah,
Vic said he was thinking about getting a podcast together. 2 dads talking about sci-fi. And I think it was at that point that we both had to break to him that we've been doing that for, 70 plus episodes. And, he had no idea whatsoever. So we went along with his delusion and decided here we are for, what do we call this? Is this a sequel?
He suggested we call it season 2, to which I said, we don't do that so much, Vic, in the audio medium.
Right.
And then he said, well, you guys decide. And we said volume, because I think volumes, when you're doing something on a podcast, because you have a volume on a stereo, you naturally call them volumes.
Right. So this would be Vol. We're on Vol 2 now.
Vol 2.
Vol
We're
2.
on Vol 2,
All right.
which is a pretty sci-fi place.
Oh, I love Vol 2. It's way
Vol
better than
2.
Vol 1.
It's also, it's the not so cool. It's kind of a knockoff erection pill too. And no, I would not recommend it.
No. I mean, full on. Vol 1 gets you halfway there.
Yeah. And Vol 2 is just a little too long.
That's you will be calling your doctor.
Yes.
Vol 2. Yeah. Well, you will be exceeding the recommended erection dosage.
You
there.
don't want to go to work on Monday, right? It's why are you sitting in your car, George?
My
I'm
Ford
just gonna stay
Fiesta?
here.
Oh, man. What's up, dude?
Nothing. I love this technology Vic turned us on to, though.
Well, we're coming out of some dark times, coming out of them into some darker times. You were there, man. You were there when they boarded up the studio with me. We were escorted out by the secret police. They said they were secret police. They did not seem to be very hush-hush for keeping secrets.
Or police.
There was no badges.
No.
There was, and we were told that the new America was not ready for two dads over 40 bringing you real sci-fi.
Hardcore.
On the reg. They said on the reg.
The freshest, newest sci-fi.
Yes.
The dangerous stuff.
The really, the stuff the kids are into these days.
Yeah.
And you'll understand what I'm saying once we get to what we're talking about today.
Exactly.
So we meandered, we toiled through this waking life as we do for the following period of time. Each of us kind of missing a purpose. I mean, we tried to find it in the raising of our children. I don't know about you. Didn't take.
No. The horrible roommate. That's what I found. I have.
I basically ended up living with tiny tyrants.
Yes.
And who now mock me on the daily basis.
Yeah, my kids all like, dude, all you do is do puzzles in Minecraft all day. And I'm like, you try being furloughed. They kicked us out of that Burbank job.
Couldn't even string together a podcast for you. How am I supposed to impress my kids? So when Vic made that call last week, I don't know about you, but I'm super gratified. It's a little weird right now doing what we're doing the way we're doing it,
Yeah.
but needs must, and here we are, and bringing you once again the freshest, most up-to-date possible sci-fi content coming at you straight from two separate garages in Southern California.
Yes,
man.
Yes, this is the Garage series.
This is
Vol 2.
Vol 2, space, Garage series, Chronicles.
Vol 2,
Vol 2, erection pill.
I was going to say, hell of a hockey goalie. Vol 2,
Vol, that guy, if the ice was even a little wet, he cleaned up. He was not a hard ice guy, Vol. He was one of those dudes that, like, you talk to modern day hockey players, which is, I believe, what they're called, because I know a lot about hockey.
Totally. I can tell.
They'll tell you Vol is my hero.
Truly.
It was named after the 13th century conqueror Volcal Colon 2. So I'm George. Who the hell are you?
I'm Kev Colon.
Kev Colon. Oh man.
Oh.
You know what's amazing? It's like
what?
riding a bike.
Totally. Totally.
I fall off all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And listener, if you're wondering, those are the dryer balls rumbling in the background of my house since I'm adjacent to the washer and dryer.
We've spared no expense.
No,
Yes, we
no,
couldn't
those are expensive. Wool dryer balls.
wool
Yeah.
dryer balls. We couldn't even do our laundry in the last studio. I mean, we had
No.
we had one of those washing boards and a bucket in the middle, and that was sort of the everything deal. That
Yeah.
was the all encompassing. You do all your water business, as Vic used to say, in that bucket. Thankfully now we've come up a few notches. We as you may be aware, we have just had a Democratic election, and as a result of that, we are now open for business. This whole virus thing that's been going on, not going to comment on it. Don't know. I don't like to get political. I like to get sci-fi. I like to get hard sci-fi.
Hard.
Too.
I like to get hard on Vault 2.
Vault 2.
Take a couple of Vault 2s, have some hard sci-fi. Here it is, knocking on the table.
I'll tell you are sitting pretty through a long weekend, if that's the case. So, and now here we are. We're back. We were told America's ready for you guys once again. So here we are. I mean, who are we for the uninitiated? I mean, I'm George. That's Kevin.
Yes.
What's our deal? What are we doing here?
Well, hold on a sec. Vic said don't blow this. Don't blow this.
Oh, he
there
said
was
don't.
like all sorts of 77 times before, George. We've done this. So
he said don't blow it.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'll take you back here. I'll rewind you and set you up here. You mentioned our water business. First of all, to our last employers, we totally were cleaning that studio just like you paid us to.
All the time.
But I just finished reading the book Under the Skin.
Oh.
And right before we were fired illegally from our last job where we were able to use that studio, our last episode was on Under the Skin, the movie, with ScarJo.
I don't think she goes by ScarJo.
She go by ScarJo.
She go by ScarJo because we know ScarJo go.
But that's a whole podcast in and of itself. But the person does her water business in the shower, and she only has a couple pairs of clothes. But that's an amazing read, which we'll probably spoil for you in the case of this episode as we run out of other content. But it's an amazingly horrifying book. It is way more horrifying than the movie.
Oh.
The movie was the glossy, as we discussed, the video shoot of it, and very successful. Remember how I thought Annihilation, the movie, was not the same as the book, but done really well?
Yes.
The Under the Skin movie was not the same, but done really well. The essences were there, but the book is absolutely grotesque and horrifying, and very cool experience.
The absorption of science fiction has been a wonderful reprieve from what's going on in the world right now, and there hasn't been a shortage of good stuff out there. We felt like it was time to delve back into this dark pool, much like ScarJo's Victims. ScarJo's Victims, worth it.
It's an underground. It's a whole, that thing that was alluded to, the black leathery set, is an underground. Let's call it pen for captive people. And
it's physical. It's a physical.
Yeah.
Place. Oh.
And let's just say humans are boutique delicacies, man, that are getting taken to stars, to the other planets.
That's how I've always felt about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I bite my fingernails and my toenails.
I'm delicious.
Yeah. You know what, though? You know what the pandemic thing did, by the way? I don't pick my nose the same way anymore.
Oh. What do you do? What do you do now? You have a robot that does it for you?
I never do it. I never do it anymore.
There's a lot of there. Yeah. So there are a lot of behaviors that started out as like retrainings that are now, I am very conscious of where my hands are at all times, usually in an inappropriate spot on another person. I have learned that people don't like that. Now there's this whole social distancing thing. A fella can't make a buck anymore.
Yeah.
Essentially.
You get your hands out of my pocket, you asshole.
You know, if you don't spot me, is it really a crime? Apparently it is. Apparently it is. So, oh, man, you know, this whole thing's got me really angry, Kevin.
Angry.
It's got me angry.
Yeah.
Super, super angry. I'd say furious.
Yeah.
Maybe even perturbed.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you sound angry, but what's the highest point you can get at something?
I mean,
like,
you know, where I'm screaming out rampage.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But it's like, it's not the minimum.
Oh, it'll be like the highest point.
Yeah.
The
like
minimum.
that's what you remind me of.
The minimum or the abbreviation of minimum would be min. Period.
Min.
We would go to the maximum. I am mad to that. I am mad to that maximum. I'm a mad Max. I'm a Mad Max, Kevin. I'm a Mad Max. Oh, in the interest of bringing you the most up-to-date, timely, like, I mean, before it even hits the streets, you cannot even find this movie anymore. You're gonna have to go to a bootleg dealer in Chelsea in New York City to find a copy of 1979's Mad Max.
Hey, it's but these days it's a Mad Max world.
Everybody's mad now.
Yeah.
And everybody's named Max, at least according to me. I call everybody Max. Like that.
The kids are doing that.
Strangely enough, yeah.
What's up, Max?
Everybody's maximum. So, Max, what are we doing here, Max?
I don't know, but we're blaming this one on Vic. Vic, thanks for making us talk about Mad Max.
Appreciate it, buddy. I think Vic thinks that this movie just came out like last week.
I think so.
Because he was pretty excited about it. You know, and you know what? Rightfully so. This movie occupies such a unique spot in my science fiction timeline. You know, it was one of those movies that I saw as a kid, then completely forgot that I saw.
Yes.
In favor of later movies that, you know, kind of shaped me a little bit more, and then picked it up again. And I was like, oh, yes, that does exist. Really only kind of landed on what a good, cool flick it is, you know, in my adulthood. You know, and it is just that. Like, it's a damn good movie.
Yeah, it's almost like it's so cult that you don't stop to think about whether it's good or not. You just know it's good. It's cult. Right?
And it's almost like, it's slightly not cliche, but I mean, you know, it's easy to say a movie's cult. When you're watching this, there's no denying. Like, it's the moment this movie starts and it is Knight Rider and the girl with the crazy smile. You know that George Miller, who directed this, told them, go fucking crazy. You just go, turn it up, you know, make the wildest expressions you can, pretend that I've got like strawberry jam on the lens, and just go. Because it's great.
And that was this time around. I just kind of marveled at it in its classicness. Like, I was like, these two actors, Knight Rider and his girlfriend, I mean, they pulled this off. It was so cool. So if it was spontaneous, if it was scripted, I'm not sure. They nailed it either way. They either pulled it out of their butts and it was cool, or it was written wonderfully because it's just there.
Yeah.
You know, and because of some of we know the story, it's just painted so well. You're like, there is a place that's not a few years in the future. I think the movie says a few years in the future, someone could be racing down these roads that loose, and it's that dangerous. And
Yeah,
they're
the movie
it's
starts with a few years from now. Like I
yes.
love that. You know,
And there's a great tension. What a great move that you can hear the whole dialogue. Since he has stolen a cop car, he can cut in on the radio chatter. And what's even cooler is to watch Max, who's the interceptor, sit. Oh, wait, the other guy's he has a different type of car. But anyways, he's like of a different stage. He's the wrecking crew, so to speak, right? And it takes a good 7 or 10 minutes of them just listening to the chase, and it go completely wrong. I mean, that trailer getting smashed and the kid almost getting hit. And it's amazing, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is a byproduct of this period of time. And it's an Australian flick. It came out in a period of time in which I think it was in 1971 when the R rating was established. And that was kind of the gatekeeper of movies for a while, is you don't go into that territory. And what happened after that got established was all these countries that used to play it safe, like including the United States and Australia, they could amp up the like nudity, the gore, the craziness, and just get an R rating slapped to it. And like, so you had a ton of super low budget flicks that cost a couple $100,000, $1 million to make. And so long as they made $2 million back, it was like, keep going. And some of them, most of them like disappeared, and then some of them landed. And this was one of those flicks that just came around at like such a perfect time. And it there's so many cool aspects to it because it's sci-fi, it's like gearheady, there's amazing cinematography and acting, there's horror elements. And the thing that I forgot was how much of this movie is quiet. Like there's a lot of just, let's just relax with Max Rockatansky, played by Mel Gibson, and
Yes.
see him enjoy his family, man.
Before the fall, Mel, too, it's kind of nice to be like, I could just set aside. I was like, it's not the Mel who's in the news. It's just a dude at that point.
Kind of a like chubby faced, good looking, like Australian dude who's,
I would say it's baby faced, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that what
entirely.
they call those people like that?
yeah. And he's still got the leather clad. And the thing I love about this movie, man, is you get it's dystopian Australia, but all the elements of society are still there. There's not like the thing that I remember as Mad Max as a kid, and it's kind of one of the things about this movie that is a little magical, is in my psyche, this was sort of lost. I remember Mad Max as being Road Warrior, which is the sequel. I feel like a lot of people, when you say Mad Max, you get the image of Mel Gibson, leather-clad, walking with a shotgun and a dog. He's got a black car with a raised engine.
One sleeve missing.
One sleeve missing, and it's a desert. He is in a desert. That's not where this started. So, I mean, like the comparison we talked about earlier was like Rambo. The first Rambo movie, First Blood, is completely different from the caricature of Rambo that pop culture has, with the big machine gun and the huge knife and everything. And this movie, it's very kind of character driven, and you can completely sets up, this like cop who's a great dad and, hanging out with his wife and everything. And then like sort of contrast that with the absolute lunacy of this awesome motorcycle gang. It's cool stuff,
And I think there was something, it's kind of pre-apocalyptic. There's clues. So like there could be a rogue motorcycle gang in any society, but and an organized police force that maybe has hot rods. But the first shot you get of the police station with the sign Hall of Justice falling apart, and it looks like a haunted house that's like exploded, but people are like frat boys are living there or something.
Yeah.
And it's and those are the cues that make you, like you said, all the normal parts of society are still there, except it's that kind of shot that makes me feel unsafe as they do their normal business later in the movie, like stop and get a tire changed, or the famous ice cream stop, which tips the whole movie. But so, you get these cues from the cops that, the only difference between I'm going to turn into one of them, except I'll be wearing a badge.
Right.
And so something's really on fire in the background, but you only kind of get it by, in society, it's loose enough that like the job of the cops is to take care of these rogues, right?
Yeah. And the thing that this movie kind of does, and which it's a rare thing, is that like kind of subtle realization. It's sort of a secret who the cops are, like that way bad guys can't, but you get the idea that, they need to be protected because there are like nothing but bad guys pretty much, like you need to constantly be wary of keeping your family out of the view, which again, that could happen nowadays, but it's almost like you get this sense that there's such a wave of control. This small group of cops, this Hall of Justice, they're just sort of pushing back. They're just sort of keeping enough of the chaos back, and it's not really working. So you could there's almost this like sense of desperation that gets built, whether you like really even want it or not. It's just sort of there in everything that's shot and all the continued chaos. And that's one thing that's just really, really cool is how chaotic this movie is. Like that things like just right before a car crashes, you got that close-up shot of Toe Cutter's eyes, of a Knight Rider's eyes in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And how jarring that is to see. It's
they do it again for Toe Cutter.
They do it again for Toe Cutter.
Too. Yeah. And just to amp it to kind of show the tension, when one of the rogue gang members is brought in, no one from the town shows up to testify. So there's enough, and there's enough risk for speaking out against these rogues that that you don't show up to speak against them. And the guy's sprung because there's no case, and it just sort of like my thoughts are like, why would you even be a cop still?
Exactly.
Like, what's making you be out there doing this?
Yeah, because I was, even while you were just talking, I was thinking like, who would I be in this society? And truthfully, I'd probably be, dead. But
well, yes, that's the problem. You kind of know, you're like, how would this work?
Yeah. But I mean, you've got the essentially total degenerate, motorcycle gang, which I think is pretty nicely on display when they have their little beach trip, and
yes.
they take the mannequin out to the beach and they're making out with it. And Toe Cutter, who's their leader, is just sitting on the beach. It's like these little camp and cult movie elements. He's just sitting on the beach wrapped in a blanket. And for whatever reason, they just decided go with that. And it does, like, why would you, the people who are the police in this society seem like they're doing so completely selflessly because there's really no gain. You're constantly in some level of danger. It doesn't seem like they're living a lavish lifestyle by any means.
Well, and so one thing, that cult theory I was going with, where you're just like, yeah, it's good. And you talked about it in the quiet parts of this movie, is that, I'd forgotten that there was like a whole movie in here.
Me too.
So by the time we see Toe Cutter first, finding the town where Knight Rider's coffin is. And of course, he's a complete freak and is totally menacing. and he does that kind of campy thing where they show him in the back of the truck with the coffin later, and he makes his buddy go back for the loser, and like he's just kind of like so weird about his dead buddy,
So-
but it makes it all the more serious. It just, I'd forgotten like how that dude looked. They're kind of flamboyant. They'll have it anyway, you know. They'll rape anyone, and there's just sort of like a weird like pancake, like Bubba the little henchman is
Yeah.
like, you know, like like white makeup, tight t-shirt. He looks like he looks like Gary Newman before he really amped it up.
You would not draw this guy if you were asked to draw a picture of like the badass motorcycle crazy. You know, you would not draw a toe cutter as he's presented in this movie, yet it works so ridiculously well. A lot of it is because of this dude's performance, who it's certainly worth noting that this guy comes back in Fury Road and plays Immortan Joe, the guy who played Toe Cutter.
Really?
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
man. And he's equally as badass. Like I feel like we could certainly spend a couple podcasts, and you know, maybe the public will demand that we do, talking
Yes.
about the Mad Max series and its dips and dives, and then kind of eventual, like almost beautiful Academy Award nominated last dip in Fury Road. But yeah, he comes back as Immortan Joe, and there's even some theories that they're the same guy. You know, that he's been taken through the ringer, because I mean, what his toe cutter gets like smashed by a. We're gonna spoiler alert here, people, but this
We're
movie
going
did
to
come
ruin
out.
this movie for
Movie
you.
did come out like 40 years ago, so he gets smashed by a truck at the end of the movie.
He heads on into one.
Yeah.
And that's another cool thing, just to kind of fast forward, is that I love how you know, Max's family gets taken out by this group of rogues, and the movie tips, and there's a whole lot more of the movie. He pretty quickly takes care of the gang, and it's nice because it kind of just shows like it's like exactly how you want it to be. He gets the big hot rod black car out. It makes wonderful sounds. It's just dominant in the way it like races on the road. And he just sort of, in 3 moves, he knocks them all off a bridge. Then he baits the other 2. He gets shot. He shoots the other guy down. He chases Toe Cutter. He has a head-on collision, and then he finds Johnny and does the famous scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that's like the last 20 minutes of the
16
movie.
or 20 minutes.
16
Yeah.
minutes in which, like, and in my head, it was reversed. In my head, it was like the first 16 minutes of the movie are Max and his family, and then it's his like, revenge quest.
Exactly.
And it's not that. There's so much movie and so much buildup.
Which is, it's cool. We both identified a different movie from this time period that made us think of it. I remember just sitting there and going, how does this remind me of Jaws? It just had like a 70s feel, obviously, that looked that way, but it like, you know, I was sitting there going, I'm sane, I'm mature. If I think this is a good movie, it's a good movie, right? Not a cult movie. Like, it's good. It's like, it works, right? I don't know.
No, I mean, well, what, you could hear a million different theories about films and what makes a movie a good movie and all that shit. And I think end of the day, it's pretty subjective. And, but there are genuine, like, so, I mean, you said Jaws. I was like, there were parts of this movie, and this might be because I just rewatched it, but there were parts of the movie that reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre because of the emotional response that it elicited in me. Because it made me feel a little uncomfortable in like a good way. Like this is the response this guy wanted me to have while making this movie. There were even some scenes that like kind of grossed me out a little bit, like, and not because there's a ton of violence by any means. the idea, the proposition at the end, like makes me uncomfortable. So I mean, he ends this movie leaving a man handcuffed to a car that is slowly dribbling out gas, and puts a little, a little lighter, and then tosses him a hacksaw, tells him, you got maybe a few minutes. It'll take you 10 to get through the chain and the handcuff. You can maybe get through your foot in 5. Now, and then we don't really know. We see the car explode, and you are left with whatever you want, essentially. But I trailed off on that as Max is driving away and you see the explosion behind. I trailed off with like the visceral nature of that guy just sawing his foot off to escape, his demise. And it's one of those things, like George Miller, who directed this. You could look back on his filmography and he hasn't really made a bad movie. Like he's done movies that like Lorenzo's Oil, which I can't say is a bad movie. I just didn't dig it. It's just not my thing. But he's always made really good, well-written movies. He's one of those guys that just kind of consistently kills it, man.
Well, I mean, the effect that you were speaking about Chainsaw, I mean, that's the similar thing with Jaws. Like, it's high enough stakes. You made me think of when earlier in the movie, Goose, Max's real good buddy, gets caught up by Toe Cutter and they burn him in a car and he lives. And there's a hospital scene, which I totally forgotten. And literally he's under this sheet, which is probably to keep air blowing on his stinging, totally burned body. And his hand falls out.
Yeah.
And it's this strange piece of gore, which totally makes it be like, oh, man.
Yeah,
this is
punches,
bad. Yeah. Uncomfortable, like you said, creates the effect, and Max's humanity starts to slip away. He even says, that thing is not Goose.
Is not Goose.
Like, you know what I mean? And that thing in there,
yeah.
That's not Goose.
And we get in a way, kind of the transition so his wife and son go out and what is his son's name? I thought it was Brock, but
Scrog.
It's Scrog, which I believe is just like Michael in Australia.
By the way, for volume 2, the anti-Google effect is still, we can't look it up, so it's Scrog from now on.
Scrog. Folks. It's whatever it actually is. It's Scrog.
It's cute in that ugly Australian way. It's like Scrod or Scrog or something.
When you like his mother yelling Scrog.
Yeah.
They go out in a rough way. And there's a part of me, especially as a dad, a busy dad, that never wants to see a kid die in a movie, and we get treated to like a pretty punctuated, just it's something simple. It happens off screen, but the shoe flying off and the ball dropping. And Max, we see at the hospital, there's even a little ambiguity in whether or not his wife does die. I almost felt like, because they say, she's in a coma and they're like, tell her she's going to be fine. And he's at the door and he's gone. Like, he's just friggin', completely gone. And we get a little bit of like he's being prepped for this world that the Road Warrior delivers us in the next movie, like the complete dystopian future where it's all just about survival,
where it'll be an advantage to not have your common humanity
entirely. Yeah.
Right.
And
which is the question, to help or not. That's what he's faced in the next movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And be selfish or not.
Is he still a cop? Yeah. Is he still the police officer? And we consistently see that throughout the series. Him kind of toiling with that. How much do I help? How much am I, just trying to survive? And how much am I trying to help other people survive? And they're not all as good as they're not all as good as Toe Cutter. I mean, we get Tina Turner eventually,
Right?
who I think even did music for that. So, I mean, 1979, that would have put Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 74. And, it's funny because all these movies, they maintain a similar atmosphere, like that kind of cheaply pasted together. Let's just see what we can do with everything we got.
Yeah, it's cool. I was thinking as we started talking about Max's humanity, I just remember, we'll spoil yet the next movie for you, but the punchline, no matter whether you lost your humanity, decided to gain it back and help, he gets completely used.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
I had forgotten that, dude. Like the sand pouring out of the tanker, dude. Just like, oh my God. Just pounded down, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He has a tough go of it, and we get we get a pretty cool introduction to a character that I think, for me, I don't know, it's kind of vital. It's sort of just I love Mad Max. I love that character. And I loved kind of growing up with him. I was delighted as heck in when Fury Road came out.
I recall that's when we started, back before Adam took the mission to sell counterfeit jeans and cigarettes to other planets.
Now, that guy's a millionaire.
Well, with Space Bucks.
Space Bucks. We were about to say Space Bucks at the same time.
Oh,
that almost just happened. Man. So, we didn't mention who we are so much, did we?
We didn't.
No,
who are we? It's a thing.
It's a thing we do.
It's a thing. I don't know how many people pick up on who we are.
It's simple mathematics, although it involves words. So I guess
I was about to say. So it's like algebra without algebra. Is what you're saying.
Algebra without algebra is just chocolate milk. That's what my grandma used to say.
And she was the greatest.
Well, she's still alive. So.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant.
Do you know something I don't? Holy.
No.
Nana.
No.
Oh. So, we're if you look at the link that you probably visited this on, it's we're busy dads do sci-fi. And those are words. If you take those words, they each start with something called a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm following you.
What I like to do is we like to do it. We're directed by Vic to do this every single time we do one of these. Is little play on the BDDSF of it all.
Yep. Which is not code for Badusi.
No. We've gone through several. We couldn't be one episode back without you mentioning Badusi, huh?
I thought I was supposed to bump Badusi.
You are. You are. There's no other reason.
In a sense, I know.
The only question we've actually gotten in the mail, like we've gotten a lot of hate, but the only question we've actually gotten is from a 10-year-old boy in Provo, Utah. And it was just like, "Dear Santa, what is Badusi?"
And thank God his Mormon family doesn't let him use technology.
Yeah.
Because one should never Google Badusi on a work computer.
Or certainly not right now. I do think the 7-page letter that you sent him back explaining it was a little much.
Hey, 4 of those pages were drawings.
And they're tasteful. So tasteful. You got an eye. You got an eye for it.
Yeah.
If we were to transplant what we're talking about into the BDDSF-ness of it all, what might we be for this episode?
So fans, you probably have heard George or I ask one another, so who are we? So, George, give him an example.
Well, I mean, we're burned, dude, dead, sawing foot, right?
Burn dude dead, sawing foot. See, you see what we did there? Yeah. Fans,
Or-
this is only going to happen this time once. We're going to need you to spread it to the other fans so that when this goes down, more of you guys can be in on it. And the guys who aren't in on it will just go, what the hell just happened?
We could be baby dead, darling, shoe falling.
Baby,
That
and
work?
what I've loved is over the years how they've evolved into kind of sentences. So I'd be like, baby dead, darling, shoe falling.
Baby dead, darling, shoe falling. Shoe falling? Shoe falling. Shoe falling.
Yeah.
Burn, dude, dead,
Burn dude.
on
On
foot.
foot.
And
Oh.
that is a classic Vol colon line if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. Voltu. That's one of the
Vol.
side effects of Voltu as well. Putting
Burn dude
emphasis
dead.
on the wrong syllables.
You may cause sawing foot.
Yeah.
Burn, dude, dead.
No,
sawing
I
foot.
mean just changing your syntax.
Oh, my syntax? I don't believe in syntax.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just like you don't believe in algebra once you remove algebra.
Chocolate milk.
Just becomes it's all chocolate milk
I
from
believe
here
in
on.
chocolate milk. I dip everything in chocolate milk.
Yep.
Everything.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead,
Yeah. What?
dead babies. Just dip it in
Oh,
chocolate
there we
milk.
go.
Well, you started it. In fairness.
Truly. I'll tell you though, because I remembered it, I was glad I didn't know how deep they went on it. And I think we were spared. Really genius though. I really imagined that camera on the ground and a dude saying, throw the shoe, now throw the ball. And it works, right? I can see how organic it was, but it works.
It works perfectly.
Yeah.
Like it is it's chilling. You feel the thing that we didn't really talk about is that there's a relentless nature to this movie. Once you start to realize, oh shoot, like they know who he is, they know where his family can be found. Half of the movie ends up becoming him hiding out. You know, like him kind of taking a break, and he goes to the farm, and they find him, and they're not going to stop. And you really want them to get away. You really want them to. There's
But the fan belt. He was working on the fan belt. You don't take the car.
Don't take the car, Mary. Oh.
You know, oddly enough, my Jaws comparison, I just realized, like the baby shoe and the ball rolling down the street, how about that raft that washes up with the puncture and the little bit of blood on it?
Yep.
There you go, right?
Yep. And then you get Mother in Vale slapping Chief Brody in the face. That's what will be next week. Mother in Vale slapping Chief Brody.
But well, yeah.
That was a little uncalled for. I used to think that as a kid. I used to go, how dare she? And then oh right, a shark just killed her son.
Yeah. Drama.
Maybe give her a break. You know. But I mean, tell you, they don't give Max a break. It just keeps on coming.
No. And that's another, I wondered at some point too, watching this, like, I kept thinking of like Charles Bronson and maybe the ethos of the times, which was kind of a good old revenge movie. Sort of is Liam Neeson the king of those kind of things now?
Yeah, I mean, he's made 4 Taken movies, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But the kind of the family get back. I forget, what's the George R. Scott one about his daughter who's a hooker? Or goes onto the streets.
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Just
yeah. I mean, you know, like the Charles Bronson, what was it?
Well, with the Bronson movies?
Death Wish.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, those got gnarly. And they all have, again, like they have that same 1970s. Like you could very easily take that era and separate the 2001s and the big studio pictures and how clean they looked from the grittier, like even movies that had a budget, like French Connection and films like this, like they just have that sort of greasy kind of darker look to them, and it's that atmosphere that lends, like this movie looks very different from like The Shining as far as production quality and everything goes.
Yeah.
As far as like the actual cleanliness of the film goes and what they were going for, but they're both just like really, really affecting movies.
Yeah. It was cool. I'm glad. I don't think I'd seen it probably since I was 20 or something. It's been 25 years. So been having a lot of that going on. I'm watching stuff now and I'm like, that's a cool movie. It's not just cool because I remember it to be cool. It works well. So
I was recently saying to a friend, like jokingly, that I don't watch bad movies, and that they're not in like a flashy way or anything like that, but most of the movies that I revisit had some sort of effect on me as a kid, and I can go back, and I did a lot of that through this past October, going back and watching movies that even are ridiculous, Killer Clowns from Outer Space and stuff like that I'll watch now and I'll go, like you just said earlier, like, okay, well, I'm sane, I'm sober, I'm rational,
yeah.
and that was a damn good movie. Like that entertained me.
Yes, it did the job.
It did the job, and it's no different with this at all. So cutting edge information for the viewer. Mad Max 1979.
Yes. So go out and see it if you haven't.
Well, it's more than likely playing at a drive-in because that's how we live our lives now.
That's what they do. Yeah. Oh man. Speaking of not seeing bad movies, one of my favorite movies as a kid in the 80s was Chud, which is Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers. I did watch like the last 36 minutes of that in the last handful of months. And
you skipped right to the last 36?
No, I was flipping channels.
Oh, okay.
But I stuck with it because it hit me. I was like hypnotized with some like chord from my deeper, older self, younger self. I was like, what? And I ended up watching it, and it was horribly, horribly good.
Right. So, I mean, take homeless people underground mutated into chuds.
Yeah.
You got like
someone's
so good
burying the radioactive stuff, which we're going to be bringing to you next, listener.
Without a doubt. Yeah. We've been watching some damn good serial sci-fi.
Yeah. It's going to take us 16 episodes and 3 seasons to do it, but we will talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I figured we'd punch out for another 18 months or so and then bring it back.
And then come back. Yeah.
Around maybe with Road Warrior, we can open up.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Which is so the Road Warrior costumes, obviously punk and bondage. And I do believe that Mad Max has a similar, just sort of almost like, yeah, we get it. Bowie was pretty big back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a glam rock almost in the Mad Max version.
Without a doubt. Everybody, even, like the suits, the bureaucrats are depicted as being almost cartoonish. And I mean, everybody to some level is kind of cartoonish, but there is a made up, Toe Cutter's got makeup on,
Yeah. And like one eyebrow dyed gray.
One
or
eyebrow is gone or grayed
out. There's a dude in the leather suit who looks like he could like be the guitarist for the Jay Giles band or something.
Entirely, man. Everybody, there's so much there's so much prog rock kind of influence going on.
He looks like Frank Zappa. He's great, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of motorcycle mustaches and just weird matted hair. Oh.
Exactly.
It's almost amazing that Mad Max's character escaped that. Like he is clean cut and still leather clad, but even the police chief is like bald headed and has like a big kind of mustache, whereas Mad Max is just like, he looks like kind of hunky Mel Gibson, you know?
And I think again, as far as those touches that add to the tension, the cop uniform obviously totally freaking cool, but like the one shoulder pad, the small shoulder pads, which are probably just some great design idea, but they just kind of mean it. It's like those are cops, but you just might need shoulder pads in
Might need
this
to
line
put
of
on
cop
a.
business.
I tell you what you need is just one. Two would be too
Right.
much. Two would be a little too much, a little ostentatious.
It's
And
cool.
besides, we can't afford two.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
it reminds me of like a 2000 AD design, like almost like a Judge Dredd kind of element, you know, like these sci-fi magazines that were popular in the late 70s and early 80s. There's like the cops in the future wear leather. That's what they do.
Right, and they're ready to kick your ass in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And generally don't have normal pistols, usually sawed-off shotguns or something like that, you know. And I love that stuff, man. You know,
Totally.
Well, I mean, this has certainly been well worth the return from exile.
I know. We're back, man. We're back in seltzer and ice cream.
I got a mango one here.
Wow.
I'm gonna crack and see if
Have you had a
that
have you
tastes
had
like
a
gasoline.
have you had a key lime one?
I've had a
They're
key lime
kind of my
one.
favorite.
I'll tell you, there's a couple hidden flavors out there you can't get everywhere.
Watermelon? Have you done watermelon?
I've done watermelon. Have you done hibiscus?
I've seen hibiscus, but I've
Well,
not.
it's like a mirage.
Oh,
It's
actually, I
desert.
had one hibiscus. Yes,
You've had a hibiscus.
I've had a hibiscus.
Was it at my house?
I took a couple Voltus and I had myself a hibiscus.
You take a few Voltus, crush them up, rail them, and then pour some hibiscus right in your nostril. That is
Yeah,
you're calling in sick on Monday. On
yeah,
that one.
exactly.
And
Calling in thick on Monday.
Oh, well, it's over. Okay, well, that was kind of a fast adventure, I guess. You know, you can learn more about the boys and maybe even about Producer Vic by going over to busydadsdosci-fi.com. And you can also subscribe to us. We're on the Apple Podcast and the Google Podcast and maybe even the Alta Vista podcast and the Ask Jeeves podcast. I don't know if those are things, but I'm assuming they are. We're also on the Spotify if you want to follow us there. Kind of amazing to get a sci-fi deal on the Spotify. So keep on coming back. New episodes are released all the time. And if you don't, I know where you live because I'm really, really good at the computer stuff. If you want, you can also send us an electronic mail at busydadsdosci-fi@gmail.com. And maybe one of you guys can tell Producer Vic here what sci-fi means. I don't know. I got an idea, but I don't really know. All right. Bye.